CPHSTALK, brought to you by College of Public Health Science Chulalongkorn University. Good health is the best wealth. We need health sciences for good health and well-being.
Hi everyone, welcome to CPHS Talk episode 8 by College of Public Health Science Chulalongkorn University. I am Prof. Nice to meet you again. Today we are going to the episode 8 with the title of Safety and Workplace for Future on Public Health Science. As the previous clip that we give you more information about new version of Public Health Science program by College of Public Health Science. So today I come together with Dr. Natha Thani Pandisakul. สวัสดีค่ะ and also Associate Professor Dr. Wattasit Siriwong, the Deputy Dean of College of Public Health Science and the Director of Public Health Science Program. สวัสดีค่ะ
Good evening, everyone.
So today we give you more information about new branch of College of Public Health Science program. And we come with the VVIP guest speaker from Rutgers University, USA, Professor Mark Robson. อาจารย์สวัสดีค่ะ
Good evening, Ajarn Mark.
Good morning,
Let me give you a little bit more details about Professor Mark Robson, our VVIP guest speaker. Professor Mark Robson is our CPHS senior consultant, and he is the Rutgers Board of Governors, Distinguished Service Professor, and Distinguished Professor on Plant Biology, Department of Biology, School of Environmental and Biological Science, Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. Also, Professor Mark served as the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Human and Ecological Risk Assessment. His research focus area very interesting: global health perspective, human and ecological risk assessment, and occupational and health and safety. So please welcome our VVP again. สวัสดีค่ะ
Once again, สวัสดีครับ Ajarn Mark. And we can say that Ajarn Mark have many students that graduate from us, and also together with Professor Robson, and we say Ajarn Mark actually.
And it is including the three wonderful people on the screen who I am so proud of, like my own academic children. Very proud of all three of you.
It's our honor that you can join us for today. So first of all, I would like to let Professor Mark give a little bit information about the global perspective or about the safety and workplace for the audience, please.
Thank you, Kap. So, Kate, what makes it so important is now in 2022, for the last 3 years, it's changed everything we do. And even before COVID, it was important. But since COVID, we've learned how diverse and how impactful the global workforce is. If you look at there are 3.2 billion workers in the world. The population of the world is about 8 billion, 3.2 billion workers. And in the last 10 or 15 years, there has been enormous migration of workers from Asian countries, and here in the United States, of course, also from Central America, into the workforce. As the workforce ages in place for some areas, the younger people in other countries, Africa and Asia in particular, migrate to where the jobs are. So there's this huge workforce. It's become a network. What we've learned during COVID, though, is that this network is fragile, that when people can't move from country to country, everything is impacted. Initially, when you see something bad happen in another place, and I think a good example, which I had the opportunity to be involved in, is, and many of you are a little bit young on this call, but on 2004, December 26th, in Southeast Asia, particularly in Thailand, Indonesia, and areas, there was the big tsunami on Boxing Day. English people say that day after Christmas, Boxing Day. And hundreds of thousands of people in Indonesia died, about 5,000 people in Thailand. And it's something that people in Europe and people in the United States watch, and it's far away. And you go, oh, that's terrible, it's far away. But now with COVID, where people cannot move from place to place, now all of a sudden workers in England aren't there to harvest crops. Workers in the United States aren't there to work in factories. And where do they come? They come from Africa, they come from the Middle East, they come from Asia. So global workforce of 3.2 billion people is significant. And with that too, we see younger workers. And we also realize that, and it's why it's so important that Chulalongkorn is starting this program because you now become global citizens. You know, before the notion global citizen was something people didn't understand. Now everybody's a global citizen. When I taught the risk course, where I have had all three of these wonderful panelists with me in the risk course, it was Thai people, maybe a few people from you know, nearby, but not so much. This year, because it was done remotely, we had students from all over the world participate. So COVID has taught us that we are global as academics, but the people we train are global. That means you have to understand what it's like to work with train young African students. Okay, Wadasit and I just had a student. We just got a paper published, we hope, for his work at Chula, but he's Nigerian boy. He's West African, and so he will go back and work in his country. But he's going to take what he learned at Chulalongkorn and put it in use there. And what he learned at Chulalongkorn is a blend of what I know as an American and what Ajarn Wadasit knows as a Thai. So it's a really important thing to think of yourself now as young women and young men who are global citizens. And the last part, and then I'll turn this back to Ajarn Kate, the last part is that this means that we have to learn about diversity and a flexible workforce. We have to learn that the culture and norms in certain countries of the people we train and people we help is very different than our own. Ajarn Wadasit and I had an interesting student came to Chula. He was a young physician, Burmese physician, who came to get PhD at Chula, and we were interested in Burmese farmers. And while I've studied rice farmers now in Thailand for 30 years, it was interesting for Ajarn Wadasit and I to see the very different kind of farming and cultural activities of the folks in Burma. And, you know, it's for me, it wasn't too far away, just a quick plane ride, but in fact, it was quite different. So that's my little opening, Ajarn Kate.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think for now we know a lot of information that Ajarn Mark already mentioned, that the COVID-19 around 2 years ago, our world quite changed. Yes, many people moved to one country in the past, but for now it's quite difficult. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And also we are the population, we are the citizens. So this is impact since we are the teachers, but we are workers as well. Everyone needs work to do. Once again, I look back to, like, we have Ajarn Natha. Ajarn Natha, can you tell us about the perspective that about our regionals and our development, because most of the country, including ourselves too, have many things for development. Please.
Thank you. So from listen from Ajarn Mark. So Ajarn Mark discussed about the migration, right? In US, actually you have like Asian populations migrate to the US for the job like that. The same like situation in Thailand. We also have like Myanmar, like people who just migrate to Thailand for their job, and also like the Cambodia and Laos who is migrate for like their job as well. So what we learned, the situation is quite the same as in US. So what we learned is that during the COVID-19 situation of these people, we would say like this group is a kind of like informal sector, because they are not in the system, I mean like the workforce system of Thailand. So that is why they have a lot of the like we would say like obstacle during the COVID situation. So what I've learned is that actually in Bangkok we have like lots of the Myanmar who is become like the housekeeping people in Bangkok, just try to serve as the housekeeping in that situation. And for the COVID situation, once this come, right, so they have to like almost all of them lost their job. Because the first thing is that we wouldn't allow like this kind of like housekeeping people to come into our house, because we are afraid that the COVID will be spread in our house, right? So that is why this is the reason behind that they lost their job. But it is not only that person self, we have to cover all the family, because they are not come alone. They just come with their kids. They just come with their like husband like that. So how that people are going to be like survive? So I just think like the situation is not that much different in the globally like situation which we have like against with the COVID. And also like in our region, we would say we are in the developing country. We are not like developed like the US, right? So the system, according to the occupational health, is not that much like high, like opportunities or have like high like competitive like in the US. So we still have like lots of the people who are still like in the informal sector, which I have like discussed before. So in this population, this is not only in the urban city, as I mentioned, but it's also in the industrial estate as well. For example, in the Maptaput, we have learned that actually in one factory, suppose they have like almost like 1,000 workers, but for the formal worker, it might be only 20%. It's not like actually half of that. Only 20% is occupied by that company, but how about the 80% of that? So that person is going to be kind of like the contract person. So we have to like think more in terms of the workplace safety for this group of the people. So that is why we are like quite interested in terms of the public health person. So we just try to like how we can improve the quality of life and also like how we can improve the living situation for this group of the people. So I think like that kind of the perspective from our regions.
Yes, right. That is very, very important that we have, we have the students from variety of the country like Vietnam, like China, and also Myanmar. Formal, yes, Indonesia. Formal worker and informal worker is very kinds of situation that we raising our concern to protect of them. As you may know, like recently we have the students that have examination about the garment workers. Garment workers have a lot of problems of like exposures, even their body like ergonomic problem, varieties, and this is just a part. We have the student from Indonesia who work in the mining company, something like this. This is needs the people who have more knowledge to protect them, to inform, to we say that change some poor of quality of life to be better. This is the goals of our missions on the new branch of public health, safety, and industrial workplace. Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't want to say, if I might make a comment about that, because I just think about it as you speak, you made such important comments, is a group of people that we not pay much attention to for many years, but they're in every part of the world, is agricultural workers. And of course, all three of you have looked at these people, and me too, I grew up on a farm. And in 85% of the world is considered developing country. In developing countries, more than 70% of the workforce is usually agricultural. In my work in Africa, 85% of the workers on agriculture are women. So you have a whole new thing. You have reproductive issues to protect not just the current worker, but she is the person who's going to bring the next generation. So there are so many parts to this. And it was so interesting in the US. I was thinking about what Ajarn said about the worker. Many people who are because Ajarn talk about the housekeeping folks, grocery store folks who work in food factory, they were kind of not necessarily in everybody's line of vision, but because of COVID and supply chain, they became essential workers. So now all of a sudden, somebody who got low pay and maybe in English, we like to use the word marginalized, now are front and center because they are essential worker. So it's good for them. They still get low wages. But it's a challenge for us because we have to balance that. And so the people that maybe we didn't pay enough attention to, it's helped us as health scientists involved in occupational health and safety to realize who really are the, lawyers and college professors. We got it pretty safe. But if I'm a person working in a poultry factory, whether it's down in Songkhla province or if I'm in Mississippi, United States, that person is at risk more than as an Ajarn or someone as government worker.
Right. Informal worker, very, very a part of our life that working something for us too. I'm very pleased that last 3 months, I have invited from Indonesian students for one of the conference that the question is that about the COVID situation, how we treat the workers from industrial areas and agricultural areas, something like this. Again, we need to protect them. Sometimes we don't have like the laws for these informal workers. How we can figure out and how can we solve this problem to make them have good or better quality of life in actually in farms too.
But you know what's interesting is all three of you have studied risk assessment, and me too. And we look at risk assessment very differently as people who have had the benefit, the privilege of education. So I give you a quick little example, and we'll move from Asia and US, we'll go to Eastern Europe this time. So in the 1990s, when you were young or not born yet, we had a series of programs that we participated in Eastern Europe. For up until 1989 was Soviet Union. Soviet Union went away, countries got their autonomy back. And so the workers there, they were looking for an investment from Western Europe and from United States and other places. And so many countries said, particularly European countries, we will have the same standard in Germany that we'll have in Poland, that we'll have in Romania. And the people there said, no, we need jobs. We don't want big standard and no work. We will, in other words, they did a risk assessment, sort of. They said, we will sacrifice some short-term risk for some long-term gains. And it was very difficult because some countries and some companies, especially multinational companies, you'll see the same company in Bangkok, you'll see in Berlin, and you'll see in Manhattan in New York City. They say, no, we have to have global standard. But workers are willing to make a sacrifice to have better jobs short-term. And almost every place in the world, whether it's those, I work in Niger, second poorest country in the world. There's 195 countries in the world. Niger, number 194, second poorest. They said, no. We want to invest now for our kids. So whether you're in the wealthiest country, places like Japan, South Korea, United States, or the poorest countries, they are worried about the next generation. They will make an investment, put themselves at risk as a worker, so that their children might get more education, their children might get a better job, their children might have a future. And that's noble and it's honorable, but it's hard for us to try to say to people, no, you can't think short term, you have to think long term.
Yeah. I think from Ajarn Mark's comments on this one, it's quite the same that what I have experienced, because I just have in-depth interview, I would say, with the housekeeping people who is in Myanmar. So what they do is quite the same as Ajarn Mark mentioned. They prefer to move to Bangkok because they would like to provide the better education for their children. So that it's kind of they just they would like to be the housekeeping because of the next generation. So that is quite interesting for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would like to support Professor Mark about the sacrifice. Yes, I work for the research about the miners working in the gold mining area. So they need a lot of income to take care of their family, a big family. So they have to sacrifice, and they know about the risk, but they have to take the risk for the money, for the income.
Right. Ajahn, not only for this, what about the mental health that may impact on this point, from your perspective?
Yes.
That's such an important point, Ajahn Wadasit, is that, what we've seen, again, we use COVID example, but, when you look at it, 50% of global workers have lost pay during the pandemic. 49% of global workers work fewer, they don't lose job, but they work fewer hours. And 32% lost their job entirely. So mental health issues, and it's all the way across the board. This is one where it's informal worker and formal worker, because if the informal workers aren't working, then the formal workers don't have it. It's a supply chain of people. And so you see enormous increase. In the United States, some of the metrics that they use, one is why sometimes people make a joke, it's not funny, but people will make a joke, well, people are drinking more. No, seriously, alcohol sales in New York City like Bangkok, big city, alcohol sales went up 30-some% in the first 6 months of the pandemic because people drink. Drinking is an addiction if you can't manage it. Drug use went way up. Number of people who go to clinic for psychological and psychiatric increase, and people that already are on the margins of life, who maybe struggle every day with personal small problems, when this is such a shock to them that it goes up. And if you're already a poor worker, before we signed on, the four of us would just have brief conversation, And I mentioned to John's that, you know, some people, they already work in despair. You know, they have a low job. Wadasit, you may remember that when we do the risk course, Ajarn Wadasit and I do risk course at Chula in Faculty of Environmental Management. And I show a video, it's a little bit old now, but it's called The Decent Face of Work. And they interview workers from all over the world, informal workers. And they talk about they have no choice. They have to do this. It's hard work, but what else can they do? And if they don't have that work, work is dignity. Work is, you identify yourself by who you are, what you work. I say to you, what do you do? And you say, I'm a nurse, I'm a doctor, I'm a John. You know, that you define your person by your work. And if you don't have work or you have a bad job, it's like, it's very hopeless. So mental health has really become one of the most serious, I guess we'll say, you know, results of the pandemic. Out the obvious, sick people and die. That's the first one. Second one, of course, is loss of income, which is hardship for government and for individuals. But the third one is the decrease in the quality of life, which is part of the mental health.
Right, Ajarn, because of this time, that why I asked this one. We have collaborations with the Department of Health, and we learned about that the mental health is increased in our populations, like especially like for workers and also in general people, that it might be effects from both reasons, that from their works and also COVID situations.
You know, you brought up
student.
just to soundbite, and then to Ajarn, you know, Ajarn Pro, you bring up a very important point up. They interview in New York Times because New York City had more COVID cases than all of the United States for a while. And they interview the nurses and the doctors. And that was what they said, you know, if you're trained as a doctor, you know, to make people better, and every day just people die around you all over the place, and you're a nurse or a doctor and you were trained to make them better, and every day you just watch them die, that's a real serious problem. The policemen and the emergency people that, you know, they drive the ambulance, they're trained to save lives, and instead they're surrounded by people who die. It's enormously challenging. So Ajarn Nada, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Also, it's okay, Ajarn. For the like point of the mental health in Thailand, I think like during the COVID situation is quite interesting that the suicide rate in Thailand is quite increasing. Like I think like it's the highest one during last 10 years, and most of the reason behind this, actually the person who is making the suicide is the like kind of the like the partner of the one who lost the job. So that is quite interesting in Thailand. If the husband lost their job, the most of the like wife is going to be the one who are like having the suicide attempt. So that is quite interesting for Thailand. Yeah, that is an issue.
The point of interesting is that intention to suicide right now, right? Because of their lot of jobs.
Yes. And also I would like to support Professor Mark about the healthcare staff who working during the COVID-19. Yes. One of our CPHS students, she is the physician who working in the front line for the COVID-19 checking. So she do the research about the mental health. So she found that the mental health is quite increasing because of the COVID-19 case is increasing. By that job load is quite increased, and also the infectious case is increased. So the mental health is quite getting worse because of the COVID situation, yes, in their workplace. All of the healthcare staff will feel more stressed, more depressed about the COVID. Yes, about the situation.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. I think we received a lot of information about the workplace and safety. So I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Natha, as you are the instructor of our new branch for the workplace hygiene and safety branch. So could you please give to the audience a little bit more information about our new version of the branch? What is the new, or what is the course of subject?
Thank you, Ajarn Gate. So our college is going to be open the new branch, which is the workplace hygiene and safety branch. Actually, this is the 2 years program for the master degree, and for the PhD degree, it's going to be like 3 to 4 years. So I would start from the master degree first. So for the master degree, during the first year, the student will learn about the coursework. For the coursework one, the student will like understand that what is the the hazard in the workplace, because sometimes we don't have any idea. I would say first that our college would be accept, like you don't need to graduate from the science way, but also like for the art or any like the business sector, we also like accept for that. So for the first thing is I'm going to introduce first that what is the workplace hygiene and what is the hazard in the workplace, and we just try to introduce that, and if we have the hazard in the workplace, how we can know that, how much it is, right, and what is that. So we're going to teach you how to measure the hazard in the workplace. Not only that, we would continue next to that, what is the health effect from that hazard if you have to export to that. So that's going to be the next course that we're going to teach you in this bunch. And after we let you know that this is the health effect from the hazard in the workplace, we are not stop at that, right? So we have to finding the solution. So we might be integrate some innovation solution to our bunch as well. Just try to like how we can like solve that kind of the problem. But before solving any problem, so we would try to like stop like exposure first, right? So we have to looking for like how we can prevent or how we can like promote the health of the people who are working in the workplace. So that's going to be the concept actually for the workplace hygiene and safety in our college. So we're going to open soon, and if you are interested, so don't hesitate to contact us.
Yes, Ambassador, please.
All right. I found the comments from our audience that they asked us about how different Ajarn, since they know that we have the program in environmental and occupational health, and it seemed like same a little bit with the safety and industrial hygiene. That would be the questions. Ajarn, please.
So that we're going to like, if from Ajarn said question, so we have the public health, right? So that one we also have like occupational health as well. But for our branch, I mean, like in the public health science, we might be go deep into the detail of the exposure. We might be do more laboratory, because we can understand more if we have the laboratory of the exposure, right? So we can do like more detail on that. If we have that kind of the detail, the good things is that we can use that kind of information to finding the solution for the worker.
That is the different thing, is that we also have the laboratory more analysis in terms of analyze of like chemical exposures that we have. And also interesting one that Ajarn mentions about the backgrounds of applicants should not just like science, but be open for other field, for example, from art, right? Because of this is a bit in social science, and in safety, we might have some like subject like HIA, something like this, right, Ajarn?
Yeah. Yes, Ajarn. So if you are come from the like non-science, I would say non-science like
exactly.
fields, so don't be afraid to contact us, because we have like a course to train you for the basic laboratory like first. Yeah, right. So we have like the basic course to train you before you are entry our branch.
Right.
So you will learn the new things because you are from the non-science, right? You don't have any touch laboratory before. So if you can just come to like join us, so you might be learn more for the laboratory things. And as we know, the occupational health is the multidisciplinary. It is not, we cannot like stand alone for the public health if we can accept for the non-science field. So we might be like fulfilled in terms of the occupational health and safety as well.
It seems like how to promote the workers that have a better quality of life, that may have the collaborate with non-science persons to do something. Like we have a scholarship for invention, new innovation that we support to a group of this, right? Yeah.
Professor Mark, would you like to add something, as you are the lecturer who give many courses about the hygiene workplace, about the risk, about the safety, something like that, please?
Well, three things. I think it's so important what Ajarn just said about, whatever your background is, you can come into this field. Okay. I think that's really critical. You know, public health is, when we train physician, we train a physician to work on one patient at one time. When we train public health people, we train them to look at a population, a workforce, a group of people. You know, the Ministry of Health in Thailand looks at all the Thai citizens. The Department of Health and Human Services in the United States looks after all 330 million people. So, you know, the important thing that Ajarn Natta said, that you can come, you can have a degree in English, you can have a degree in music, or, you know, in Thai history. And you need all those things because you need to understand them. So, you know, Kofi Annan, who was the Secretary General of the United Nations, I had the pleasure one time of actually having lunch with him. He's an interesting man. I got invited to talk at UN, and he came over and said, "Oh, is somebody sitting at this seat?" I said, "Oh, no, you." And so, you know, it was a very great honor. And, you know, one of his quotes was, "The learning process continues until you die." Now, granted, I'm a lot closer to that than all of you, but I hope not right away. But, you know, the important thing is that you can come into public health with all sorts of background. You can be lawyer, you can be musician, you can be historian, and it works. And the other thing I want to say, first of all, and I want to thank Ajarn Kate, Ajarn Natta, and especially Ajarn Wadasit for the invitation this morning. You know, it's been such an honor for me to have a relationship now with Chula for over 30 years, And it's very exciting. And, you know, as a student, I had very good teachers. And as a teacher, I've had very good students, many of them at Chula. Be proud to be at Chula. If you are thinking about coming to Chula, you're already trained somewhere else, be excited because it's recognized. You know, and I always tease when I get invited to meet big people in Thailand at a reception or something, you know, and they say, "What do you do?" And I stand very tall and go, "Ajarn Chula." And so, you know, Chulalongkorn is going to give you an opportunity. The school is growing. The school is moving in an exciting new direction. It's relevant. You know, that's one of the challenges. That's what makes public health more fun than other things. Public health is relevant. You know what I mean? It's pertinent. It has something to do with what's going on. I'm not discrediting any other discipline. You know, I mean, medicine's exciting. We're saving people with COVID, and before COVID, lots of other things. But, you know, some disciplines are very stagnant. Public health changes every day. Okay, every day when you wake up in the morning, there's 250,000 people in the world that weren't here yesterday. And tomorrow, there'll be 250,000 more people. So you have to be prepared for that. This new program, this look at workers and occupational health and safety and industrial hygiene, all those key components are key components that prepare you for the world going forward. Okay, you know, it's wonderful to talk about history, you know, you need to do that. And also remember, keep an open mind. You know, Lord Buddha has a great quote that says, "Your worst enemy is your best teacher." Now, I hope you don't have too many enemies, but even when as you go through life to learn, even if there's somebody that gave you a hard time, he or she taught you something. So thank you again, Ajarn Kate, Ajarn Natta, and Ajarn Wadasit for the privilege to join this morning. You are my academic children. I am proud of all of you, and I brag about you. And Wadasit knows that because if you come in my office, you see pictures. I have a picture of every graduate student I've ever had, and now there's 126 of them from every place on earth. So I have easy to decorate my office. I have pictures of all of you. So thank you for being able to join you this evening, for me this morning. What a great way for me to start my day. Kapun kap.
Thank you very much, Professor
Thank
Mark.
you, Ajarn Mark.
It's our great pleasure that Professor Mark can join us for today for introduce our new program by College of Public Health Science. So if you have any question or comments, please feel free to write down here under the clip. Yes. And if you are interested to study with us, the new version of Public Health Science program by College of Public Health Science, Chulalongkorn University, please apply now until the end of April, the end of this month. So please apply now. And if you need some information, please feel free to write down the direct message via this Facebook, or you can look for information through our website, CPHS website. And today, me, Pokpet Pongsasulak, Associate Professor Dr. Wadasit Siriwong, and also Associate Professor Dr. Natha, and also our VVIP special guest speaker from New Jersey, Professor Mark Robson, have to say goodbye for all the audience. Please come again to see you for the next episode with CPHS Talk by College of Public Science, Chulalongkorn University. Thank you for today and see you. Before we leave, please like and share this clip. Thank you very much.
ครับ
สวัสดี
Thank
ค่ะ
you very much ครับสวัสดีครับ Thank you ครับ Professor Mark Robson ครับ
CPHS Talk, brought to you by College of Public Health Science Chulalongkorn University. Good health is the best wealth. We need health sciences for good health and well-being.